sissy mother.
Oh, well
Communist.
done. Well done.
Communist.
Leave, dude.
Kind of flu, shove it up your
Okay, well done. Well
fucking
done.
Taiwanese mother.
Well, sir.
He said, take that corona and shove it up your blank. I'm not sure that's how that works. I'm not sure he understands virology. Alright, so that clip was from WSVN Channel 7 here in South Florida. I'll get back to it in a little bit more than a minute so you can kind of get the context. So, when I first heard this story, you know, it reminded me of a conversation I had with a friend of mine who had said something years back, maybe about 15 years back. I was working with a guy and he said something that was a little bit off color about a particular group of people. And, you know, I say, hey man, you know, don't say things like that. It's not cool. And he tells me, hey man, no, I got friends with, I don't see color. I have friends of all stripes. And I always remember that because he considered me to be his friend. But I had never been to his home. He had never been to mine. We worked together. We talked sports at the cooler, that type of thing. But it made me realize something at that moment. You know, in America, we all think we're so inclusive and so on. But really, if you give birth, if you're a guy and your wife is giving birth, and none of your black friends, none of your Asian friends, none of your gay friends, none of your whatever you want to say you're friends with friends are ever there for those moments. When you're hosting your 5-year-old's birthday party, your baby's 1-year birthday party, if none of your friends that don't look like you are ever at these moments, you know, if the godfather of any of your children are not one of these particular friends, if you've never been to their home, if the only time you've been to their home is when you see their background in a Zoom call, do you really have black friends? Do you really have Asian friends? Do you really have white friends? Do you really understand what it's like to be whatever, fill in the blank? And I think that clip there is really indicative of that because like most people in these situations, if I'm being fair, I like to be reasoned. I like to imagine, you know, how people get to where they are, how people get to make mistakes, especially when you make a mistake like this where you go viral and your face is out there and your reputation is ruined. I'm sure that these people, again, they're drinking. That may have had something to do with it too. But I'm sure these people would tell themselves in normal life that they're not like that. But truth be told, they were. You know, little backstory on this clip. They had bought pizza down the strip, and it was late at night, you know, it was early in the morning, and a lot of the shops were closing up. And they found a shop that was in the process of closing, but they still had some of their seats out. The seats were stacked and folded on top of each other, but they're still out there. So these gentlemen decide to make themselves at home and just start sitting there. So the shop owner, the restaurant owner comes out and says, hey guys, you know, we're leaving. He's very polite. You'll see in a minute in the clip. He's very polite. He says, you know, guys, oh man, you know, we're closed, so on and so on. Then they become increasingly belligerent and they start, you know, using terms like China virus. I think he calls them a Taiwanese MFer. I'm not sure they're Taiwanese. I'm not sure of the ethnicity, but, you know, it's just one of those things where in our society, we all believe that we're all this inclusive and we don't see color, we don't see this, we don't see that. But the only reason why you make this mistake and go viral is because you don't have enough of those Asian friends of yours ever at your house for something special, and you're never at their home. When their kids graduate from school, you're never the person there with the balloons, helping set up balloons at the house. You're not in their lives. The only minorities you may know, especially in that part of town, you know, Delray Beach is one of those places. You have a lot of snowbirds, especially in the winter time, where you'll see a lot of New York plates, New Jersey plates, Montreal, Quebec plates. You know, some of these people live a life where the only minorities that may come to their home are their nannies, the people delivering their packages. Maybe they have a minority who's an electrician. Maybe when the power goes out, the minority comes and fixes that. You know, something breaks, they have a handyman, maybe he's a minority. That may be the only time that they have interaction with people that are minorities in their intimate spaces. You know, being okay with sitting next to a black person on a plane or sitting next to a Muslim person on a plane is not exactly the same as really understanding what that person is and embracing them and incorporating, you know, their culture into yours, and they would do the same for you. So I'll play the rest of the clip so we can kind of get a better angle from it, but let me know what you think. You know, do we really have friends fill in the blank, or is that just something we say?
An Asian American man asking two men to leave his restaurant when he got a racist response. The owner says they were just trying to close up for the night.
And a Sevens branded buyer shows us that's when they say they were hit by hate.
I asked you nicely to leave.
China flu, shove it up your.
Viral video out of Delray Beach showing a group of men outside the Ramen Lab eatery on Northeast 2nd Avenue last Thursday.
Oh, well done. Well done.
Two of the men verbally abusive to the owner, Louis Grayson, who'd simply asked them to leave as they were closing up the restaurant for the night.
To ask you to eat your pizza from a different restaurant elsewhere while we're trying to close, and that was about it.
It was just before midnight. Grayson and his staff had already packed up the outdoor seating area when the men started making themselves at home.
We were just trying to clean up our table and bring everything in from outside, and the guys started to unstack the chairs and just randomly wanted to sit down and eat their pizza.
And when they asked them to leave, these guys weren't having
Hey,
it.
I'm asking you nicely, bro.
But not only were they rude, the verbal abuse was racially charged.
I asked you nicely to leave. That's about it. I asked you nicely to leave, dude.
China flu, shove it up your.
Okay, well done. Well done.
Taiwanese
Well, sir.
The men would eventually walk away, but not before hurling more slurs.
Coronavirus, go yourself, Corona.
Thank you.
Die of Corona.
Why are you leaving, sir? I thought you wanted to stay.
Grayson says he posted the video to show a problem Asian Americans are facing. A problem he says is getting worse.
The whole point of the post was just so people can see that, you know, this still goes on every day, and I grew up with it too, but this is another level.
Brandon Byers, 7 News.
Grayson says he's been in touch with police. 7 News tried to get in contact with one of the men in that video, but we weren't able to reach him.